Hello everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm Notorious Dub and today I'm going to be going over the king of controlling a bomb site, Cypher. And there's a reason that Cypher has constantly been in almost every meta team comp since beta, and it's because he locks down bomb sites and protects flanks better than any other agent. And today I'm going to be going over everything you need to know to start locking down areas of the map for your team by going over each ability, how and where you should be using them, the overall playstyle you should be incorporating as a Cypher, and then showing you full site lockdowns for each map. But before we get into that, do you find yourself struggling to win gunfights? Are you a bit lost on what you should be doing in game? Or maybe you find yourself stuck at your current rank? Well, don't worry, as our brand new hyper improvement system is specifically designed to solve these problems. At SkillCapped.com, you'll finally learn how to improve your aim, different techniques to win gunfights, and so much more. We have professional courses on every single agent, map, and mechanic in Valorant. This is also backed by top pros, players, and coaches to make sure you're getting the most up-to-date and accurate information possible. In fact, we're so confident that you'll improve using our system that we offer a rank improvement guarantee. Check it out yourself in the link below, simply put in what rank you're currently stuck at, and find out what rank you're guaranteed by using our system. So, what are you waiting for? Unlock your true potential and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link is in the description below. Alright, so first things first, as always, we have to figure out exactly how we should be playing Cypher on attacker side and defender side. So let's start with defending, which is where Cypher really shines. Now, one huge piece of information that you have to take note of is how many people are playing on the site with you. There are going to be times where you're locking down a site on Haven by yourself, and there you should be playing as safe as possible with cams to get as much information as possible so your team can rotate to help you before anything goes wrong too quickly. Now in that scenario, you should be looking for picks anywhere by picking off anyone that hits a tripwire or shooting through your cages as much as you can while they're pushing through the site. But most importantly, you have to not die so you can play for retake with your team. If you have multiple people on the site with you, like if you're playing B side on bind with 2 or more people, throw your utility down and fight for the site as soon as the enemies peek and start to push it. You should pop your cages and force the enemies to walk through them, and you and anyone else playing the site should be ready to shoot down anyone who walks through the cages or hits one of the traps, because as they peek out, the other person has to peek out through the smoke before they can trade them. And best case scenario for them, it's a 2v3 on the site. Now this is one of the most difficult things about playing Cypher on defense, is determining when you should go for the site hold and when you should be looking to play for retake. Now the easy answer is if the majority of your team is already holding that site, then play to protect it. If the enemies have to push through a smoke to get on the site, you're almost always going to want to protect the site, and if less than half of your team is playing on that site, or they don't have any smokes that they have to walk through, you should probably be playing for retake and just waiting on your team to get there. Now as a Cypher on attacker side though, the role does get a bit different. As a Cypher playing attacker side, you should be dropping flank wires. These are tripwires that you drop at the beginning of the round that make sure that an enemy can't flank you from that area. That way your team can work on somewhere else and forget about that area altogether. This opens up so many opportunities for your team because instead of defaulting in a traditional way, your default can now be a split on a site, or just pressuring mid and a bomb site, and you never have to worry about the flanks as long as the Cypher places their trips correctly. The best case scenario though is that someone does decide to flank, kills the wire, and then your entire team can turn around and kill the flanker, completely leaving whatever you were working on initially. Because whenever you kill that flanker, that means the bomb site that he came from is completely open, and your team can run as fast as they can there for free and have a free site to work around. Another great thing Cypher can do on attacker side is to drop his tripwires on the flank and then pressure that side of the map. Because even if he takes a 50-50 at that area and he dies, then his team is still fine with the tripwire holding the flank, and they can then just force their area a little faster than they wanted to. If he gets the kill though, he basically opens up the entire round for his team, because they can either rush to the Cypher side and force that site, or pressure from both areas and the other team has a little bit too much pressure to deal with to be able to keep both sites. So as an attacking Cypher, you should be taking care of the flanks and joining your team for pressure, or taking care of the flanks and lurking and forcing pressure away from their team. But either way, you have to be in control of the flanks. Alright, now that we have playstyle out of the way, how should you be using your abilities? Well, first off, we have Cypher's Tripwire, the most annoying ability in the game for attacking agents. Cypher's Tripwire is a destructible and covert tripwire that can be placed at a target location that spans between the placed location and the wall opposite. Any enemy that crosses the tripwire will be tethered, revealed, and dazed for a short period of time if they do not destroy the device. Now the ability can also be picked up and redeployed before it's triggered, and can be destroyed by shooting it once with any gun, or if a damaging ability like Raise Grenade explodes onto it. But with that being said, where should you be putting them? Now on attacker's side, if you're going to tripwire off the flanks, you have to take care of all of the threats that an enemy could flank from. Now make sure that that flank wire can't be jumped or ducked and the enemies can't go around it. The goal isn't actually to catch someone with that flank wire, it's to force the enemies to shoot it and alert you to their position if they do decide to flank. On defender's side though, you're going to want to get creative. If you're playing solo, feel free to trap where the enemies will have to plant so you can pick up easy spam kills after they take the site and you're playing for retake. But if you're playing with multiple teammates on site, place more aggressive traps that can catch the enemies off guard running into the site. But either way, you just don't want to be too predictable with your most valuable piece of utility, and you just want to keep the enemies guessing if they continue to come to your bomb site. And then next up we have Cypher Cyber Cage. This is a 7-second smoke that is hollow in the center that Cypher can throw and activate from any distance to create a temporary zone that blocks vision from the enemies. Enemies also make an audible noise whenever they walk into or out of one of the edges of the smoke, so you can be alerted if an enemy is inside or walking into and out of the smoke. Cypher, much like Viper, Omen, and Brimstone, have a ton of one-way lineups that make this solo site hold extremely deadly for any enemies attempting to push the area. And his Cyber Cage should also be used in combination with his Tripwire as much as possible, because it makes the Tripwire much more difficult to see, and if thrown correctly, stops the enemies from seeing the edges of the wire that they have to shoot, giving you more time to kill them through the smoke because they are revealed by the Tripwire. And then on attack, Cyber Cage also provides a smoke for your team if you really need one. So don't be afraid to throw your cage in an important area like A Heaven on Split so you can resmoke the area whenever the initial smoke drops. Now although people say Cypher isn't a great attacking agent, blocking off the flanks like that and then throwing your Cyber Cage for the next resmoke is a very effective way to stop the enemies from retaking the site. And then we have Cypher's Spy Cam. This is a camera that Cypher can place at a targeted location within a certain range of himself. And once placed, he can reuse the ability to take control of the camera view from any distance, look around, and he can fire while in control of the camera to shoot a tracking dart. Now the tracking dart is removable and will periodically reveal the location of the enemy hit, and it can also be destroyed by shooting it once with any gun. Now this is the ability that I would say makes Cypher so good at holding a site solo, because even though it's difficult to get onto the site, it's also difficult to approach the site without being seen, because at nearly every bomb site there are areas where that Cypher can throw a camera down to see all the enemies before they get too close, allowing Cypher's team to fully rotate and get there in time before the attack actually comes. Now on attacker's side though, Cypher's Spy Cam can be used to get information onto the site before your team full commits to it, making the initial take so much easier, or it can be used for post-plant scenarios and is one of the best abilities to use in that situation. After the bomb is planted and you're waiting on enemies to tap the bomb before you peek, you can just use your camera to peek the first time, and if you tag them with the dart, the 1v1 becomes so much easier because they have to stop for 3 seconds to actually remove the dart. And if they don't, you have a huge advantage on knowing exactly where the enemy is and whether you have to peek or you can just wait out the time. And finally we have Neural Theft. This is Cypher's ultimate ability and it requires an enemy corpse to use. And Cypher will throw his hat onto the corpse, and after a short time all alive enemy locations will be revealed. Now this ability is best used when the round gets jumbled up and you're not sure where to go or what to do because you haven't had callouts or you haven't seen other enemies anywhere on the map. Now knowing the location of all of the enemies gives you an instant plan for what to do, so you might as well pop it then if you get the ability to. But honestly, with just how powerful this ability is, using it whenever you get the opportunity to is perfectly fine. But the times I see that are most common to use it is after the enemies fail their push, you can ult to see if they've backed off or just completely rotated so you can catch them on their rotation a little faster, or whenever your team is rushing a site and gets the entry frag, you can then walk up and use your ult to know where the enemies are coming from to set up a post plant properly and make sure you don't get picked off while you're trying to plant and get there. Alright, now that all of that's out of the way, let's go over a few of the standard setups that you're going to be using for each map depending on where you're playing, and you're usually going to be playing in a certain area as Cypher. So for B-side bind, what you're going to want to do usually is get up on top of this box in the center of sight, jump to the green box to the right, and throw your camera on top of this wall that overlooks B long. This gives you perfect access and allows your team to rotate if you see their entire team running early. And then you can actually throw this tripwire in hookah that goes from the bottom on the sand all the way up to the top rafter, and people will actually get caught in the air and it's very difficult to actually shoot the tripwire out, and usually nets a free kill. From there, you're going to want to just tether off long and throw your smokes down. That way, whenever the enemies come and get touched by your tripwire, you can pop your smokes and get the free kills on them. And next up, we're going to show you Cypher on Split. Now Split as Cypher, you're usually going to be playing B site because it's generally very easy to hold down with a Cypher. And if you actually go into heaven and jump on top of the cardboard boxes, you can get your camera down on this wall at the very top by aiming a little bit to the left of it and jumping up and down on the cardboard boxes while you're spam clicking. This gives a great entry line to see in the garage so you know when to pop your one way. And then we have the tripwire that goes on the garbage can and angles itself down onto the site. Now it's very difficult to shoot this one, which is what makes it so good, because the enemy almost has to come all the way out of garage and peek to actually be able to shoot the tripwire. And then we have the cyber cage one way. All you're really going to do is touch the wall with your left shoulder, step out just a touch, as small amount as you possibly can, and whenever you're aiming straight up at the roof, whenever your cyber cage bounces off, it will land almost effortlessly onto the threshold, giving you a direct line of sight all the way to back of sight. And then from there, although your tripwire can be jumped over, you'll be able to hear it, and you're going to be holding this area for the majority of the round anyway, so it's not a big deal, and you can just use your camera to see through one way, and then if the enemies decide to push through, they have to deal with your tripwire and the spray from your bullets. And next we have Cypher on Haven. Now Cypher is usually going to want to play A site, that way your team can double up on B or double up on garage or C, just to make the game a little easier for you, because A is generally a little bit easier to retake. Now, you're going to want a pretty standard setup, just throwing your tripwire on short, your tripwire on long, and smokes to block off both of those. But you're going to want to use your camera in this position that I'm showing you here. That way, whenever you look into it, you can actually see the cross into short. That way, no one's going to surprise you from either long or short, and enemies actually have to peek through and to be able to shoot your camera, and that way you actually have information, whether they're going to either part of the bomb site or if they're coming up at all. And for this clip, I'm going to show you Cypher playing on Ascent. Now, Cypher usually wants to play on A site for Ascent if your team has a Sova, but that setup is usually very standard and not worth actually mentioning. But for Cypher playing B site, whenever you don't have a Sova, this is how a lot of people like to actually set them up. You're going to throw your tripwire, one on the lane to the left and one right in the direct center of the archway. And from there, you can throw your cyber cages wherever you feel necessary and comfortable playing around them, but you definitely want one in the archway, but the camera is arguably the most important part here. Whenever you go up into market and you come out on the balcony, it allows you to get your camera out onto the sign. Now this camera, although it doesn't see inside of B tunnels, it actually covers the entire outside of it, gets a lot of sight, and allows you to see all the way through into CT and a little bit of market. And this overhead angle that you're getting, usually no one is going to actually check from whenever they're coming out of tunnels. So your camera is almost guaranteed to stay there for a very long time, and you can always have that little bit of pressure with it. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com. The link is in the description below. All in all though, Cypher is arguably one of the best agents in the game, and with a lot of teams straying away from the Sage on certain maps, he's probably the most meta agent in the game right now, and because of that, a great person to start to main. So hopefully this video helps make that transition easier. But if there's anything we missed or anything you want us to cover, please let us know in the comments below. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn those notification bells on, because we here at SkillCapped have a ton more comprehensive premium guides coming your way that you're going to want to stay up to date on so you can stay ahead of the pack. As always, I want to thank you for watching and spending this little bit of your day with us, and I'm Notorious Dub, signing off.